Hello, I'm Claire Warden, and I'm delighted to be with you on this inquiry where we're exploring shadows. Now, one of the fascinating things that happened yesterday is people were sharing with me through our international Facebook group and through our regional Facebook groups all of their different discoveries. Wherever you are in the world, people found shadows. Isn't that amazing? And so one of the things we're going to do today is record some of that thinking in our memory book that you can download, but also to think a little bit more now about how we can change, how we can move, how we can start to create, if you like, a shadow puppet, a puppet that says something to us about our story. What's in your mind? It could be that it's a nature-based story. It could be that it's a story about good and evil. It's entirely up to you. I look forward to hearing about your designs and ideas for making those puppets.
Welcome to our inquiries all around shadows. We've done some amazing exploration because we've been out and about, we've been dancing with shadows, we've been making shadows with our hands, we've been making shadows with our toys. So really, we've been doing some phenomenal investigation just into the idea of shadows. So well done to everybody. Don't forget, you've got that memory book, so you could be drawing in there, you could be putting in pictures of some of the shadows that you've made. These are some of the things that people have been saying. We've been saying how much we love shadows and about how interesting it is when the sun comes and goes. We've been talking about hands and how they can make amazing shapes that look completely different when you see them as a shadow. We've been trying to look through the dark woods into the dark places to make stronger shadows. We've been thinking about how we can fit our bodies into the drawings on the floor. One of the things that Amelie was interested in was whether or not her hand that she draws would be the same as the size of her shadow hand. So that's going to be something we can revisit. We've been moving and changing shapes. We've been looking at how much bigger our shadow often is according to where the light is. We've been remembering our bows and arrows. We've been doing acrobatics. We've been drawing around our outline. We've been balancing and trying to see what that looks like as a shadow. We've been bouncing on our trampolines and looking at our shadow and our body shape and how we can make it change. We've been trying to match up our shadow to holding different things or to touching different drawings. We've been working together. And so Isaac and Esme have had a go whereby there was just that little piece of wood on the ground that you can see with the red arrow. And then both of them did different things to try to connect to the piece of wood. How clever is that they work together to make that one line? So in the talking tub, we're going to be thinking a little bit about making a shadow puppet. Now we've begun to understand that good shadows come from strong light. We need a strong light and we need something that the light can't go through. And that means that our bodies are really good at that because they block the light. When we start to think about shadow puppets, we then need to find things that are thick, like cardboard, that stop the light going through. We've understood the idea of shadows, and so here's a lovely picture that shows us we can take shadows of anything. A toy horse, a donkey, a pig, and by being able to draw around those shadows, it gives us a really good shape that we can cut out and make into our puppet. We could decide to draw around a digger. If your story that you're making up is going to involve diggers, then that's a really good idea. But you might have a story in your head that's all about magical things like unicorns, or it might be about fairies, or it could be about witches. It might be about the animals that come out at night. So it might be around the owls and the bats that come out during the shadow time. One of the words that I'm going to use is something called outline. And so we can see here we've got our toy dinosaur and we can see that he's got a shadow. And that shadow is the bit that we need. So what we do is that we cut around the outside of that shadow. Where that red line is, that is called the outline of a shape. And so by doing that, it means that when we cut out that shape, when we put it on a stick, it will be the shape of a dinosaur when we use it in our puppet play. We can then cut out those pictures and shapes and put them on the end of a stick. And then we can move those around when we come to make our shadow play. Things that you're going to find useful to make either shadow scenes like mountains and rivers and houses and puppets. That's the character. Whether it's a dog or a witch or a person, you can decide all of that yourself. So having thick cardboard is really useful because it stops the light from coming through. We might need to find some tape, scissors because we're going to be cutting out, and a thin stick that you might need to go and find outside. You might decide that you don't want to use cardboard for your puppet, but you want to use natural things. And so we can go outside and find leaves and seed pods and fir cones. All of those will give you a different outline, a different shape for your character. Here's one that Esme made when we were working on wrapping, spiraling wool around things to make little dolls and puppets. She made this one. So this little puppet would actually be quite good in a shadow play because it's got two very clear legs and it's got a lovely big leafy dress. You remember when we were looking at stick people? Well, stick people make really good puppets as well. So we can actually wrap that wool around to give a bit of texture. But what we'll be seeing is not so much the googly eyes, but the outline of the shape on the sheet that we use to show our shadows. Whoever or whatever is in your head, that's the exciting thing. How are you going to make your characters of your story? Think about who you want to be in your play, whether you're going to use your hands to make the shapes of a dog or a crab, or are you going to make a physical puppet that you're going to put up against the screen? Or are you going to do all of those different things, working with your family and working with your brothers and sisters and friends that you're with to make a joint idea of a shadow play? I look forward to seeing you then.
What an amazing day where we've been able to really explore which materials leave the most effective shadow. So we've been looking at the idea of opacity, because opacity is where the light cannot transfer through the object. In those puppets, it gives you a lovely black outline. And for us at Nature School, we've been exploring the impact of distance from the light source. So the complexity of thinking is going up and up and up as our week continues. I can't wait to see your ideas and where we end up at the end of the week.